Hello, hello, hello. Mike Callahan here with the SA Weekly Talk Show. We missed you last week. We were knee deep in a deep dive automation consult, but we're back live again, trying to bring some knowledge to the SA community. Special guest back again, Josh Latimer, by just demand. But we're going to be talking about automated marketing and building route density through some online and offline things. Josh, if people have never heard of you or don't know who you are, I know you had a seriously large business in the window cleaning, pressure washing, took a hiatus to Costa Rica, and then located back in the States into something that looked like a medieval castle in somewhere in Michigan. So if people are unaware of your background, what's going on with you, if you wouldn't mind just sharing how you cut your teeth in business and where you're at now.
Sure. Thanks so much, man. Like whoever's watching this right now, you probably, maybe you started with humble beginnings, which is me. I have no entrepreneurs or business people in my family. We were just a middle-class family, maybe even lower middle class for most of my life at first. But I got really interested in entrepreneurship. I started a window cleaning business. I actually started my company with a 93 Chevy Cavalier, which is a little car. And I strapped ladders to the roof of my car, which was weird and illegal probably, but it's all I could do because I had no money. And I would hide my car like down around the corner when I go do estimates because I was embarrassed in my car. It was really embarrassing. I called it my work truck actually, which is kind of funny. That's how I started, married my high school sweetheart, lived in a trailer park, really didn't understand how to build a business. So fast forward, that company ended up being pretty successful. We did just under $186,000 the month that I ended up selling that company 3 years ago. We did move to Costa Rica for a while. And really what happened from like me barely getting enough money to buy groceries to like building a fully automated business where I had a full team, a full leadership team, all that, was systems. It's all about systems. And people ask me all the time, they're like, Josh, what systems do I have to build? What systems do I need? And it's a hard question to answer, but the basic fundamental answer to that question is it has to start with sales and marketing systems. And so we can't just be reactionary when we try to build a business. We need to be strategic and also tactical and create a simple lever. I call it a lever, a repeatable system to make your phone ring a whole bunch so that you create momentum. And I didn't figure that out for the first 2.5, 3 years. Once I did, everything changed and shifted and all that. So as far as systems go, sales and marketing is the most important. If you have a lawn care business or landscaping, techniques like 9 rounds and 5 rounds can work really well. If you do it correctly, they can just be unbelievable for you.
And you mentioned doing them correctly, and that's one of the things that resonated to me immediately as you said that is if people were at SA5, Service Autopilot's convention, SA5, Jonathan Toshnak, one of the co-founders of Service Autopilot, just a brilliant business person in his own right, went in and taught people how to dominate their market. But if you took a theory like a 9 round that Jonathan talked about, sometimes it was how to take that theory and execute it in the real world. And Josh, just as well as me, when things get crazy, the fires are burning, especially in the spring and the lawn care. And let's not forget our home cleaning friends there. When things are going crazy before the holidays and we're doing those deep cleans and we're just trying to get that work done in the busy season, a lot of times as business owners, at least myself, I get so wrapped up in the day-to-day that I can't get out of it and actually look at, okay, what are the fundamental things in those levers that we're pulling to be successful, those 9 rounds, maybe making phone calls to follow up on open estimates. And this is kind of what I wanted to dive into with you is the practicality and some of the things that are coming now with this technology shift that now if the business owner does have their head kind of stuck in that business and we can't physically make it happen, or like in our case, in my business, where we're pumping out 1,100 or 1,200 estimates in the spring, we may just not have the bandwidth to actually make these phone calls to follow up on estimates. So I want to dive in and talk about 9 rounds. You brought them up first. What is a 9 round? And it was something, it wasn't new, but it's something that Jonathan kind of coined for our industry. It put some context, how to build route density with a 9 round and go out and dominate those local neighborhoods that you wanted to be in, and your ideal neighborhood. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of dive into the theory of a 9 round and what the process is. And I kind of want to dive into some ways how we can use Service Autopilot as a platform and some of the new integrations that are coming down the line to automate that process when it's the most important time to be doing it. And us as business owners just don't have the time to make it happen.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, like most service companies have what I call a revenue curve, almost all of us. So if you have a small business that does $120,000 a year in revenue, you don't make $10,000 a month for 12 months. It doesn't work like that, right? It's like this. It's like up and down, up and down. And there's this natural ebb and flow. There's a buying cycle for whatever it is that you do for the market that you're in. And so what most little bit, especially small companies doing less than $500,000, what they do is they don't do any marketing when the curve starts to uptick, right? And then what happens, they're making all this money. And then as it starts to drop off, which is a natural cycle for their market, right? Like end of summer or whatever, when that drops off, that's when they spend all their money trying to do all this crazy marketing, or they'll buy like ads in the newspaper, or they'll just do some EDDM randomly, or they'll do some Facebook ads. They'll just try stuff, but it's really, really poorly executed, and they're doing it at the wrong time. Right? So it's this vicious cycle where you make money and you're busy and you can't breathe, and then you panic when it gets slow. And the way to fix that is by marketing at the right times, right? Raising your average prices, things like that, and kind of doing it at the right timing, right? So with that being said, the reason 9-arounds are so powerful is because you're building route density, especially in the lawn care business, which obviously everybody already knows that. But when you market to the neighbors of your current customers and you do it consistently and you personalize it and you have fun with it and you touch them multiple times and you have a strong call to action in it at the right time of year, when you do that, you can get really explosive results. You're going to get a higher close rate. You're going to get a higher average ticket. There's higher social proof because your truck's already in and out of that neighborhood all the time. And when we think of marketing as a small business, we think of it as this big thing, like, oh, we're in our town, we have to let the whole city know that we exist, or we're going to do a newspaper insert or do a radio ad or whatever people do. And that's totally the wrong way to think of it. All you have to do is create huge momentum in individual neighborhoods, the right types of neighborhoods. And you do that by hyper-focusing on the perfect neighborhood, getting a few customers, and then just dripping on their neighbors over and over and over and over with a personalized, hyper-targeted message that hits them multiple times. That's the key. And what most people do with 9-arounds, right? They'll hear Jonathan, who's a genius, talk about it. So they'll tell their crew, hey, pass out these flyers after you mow the lawn, or after you do the job, or after you clean the house. And they'll like sort of do it sometimes. They'll pass out like a flyer once, and it doesn't work, and they think it doesn't work. It's because they're doing it wrong tactically. It has to be consistent. You have to hit them multiple times. You have to hit them at the right time of year. And you're right, it is hard to do that when you're wearing all the hats, but that's exactly why software like Service Autopilot or software like Send Jim is so powerful, because it can take care of that whole automated neighbor marketing thing in the background without you doing anything, which is really pretty incredible.
To touch on that, I think you hit it exactly. I couldn't have said it any better. It's the consistency. And the story that just brought in my head was when we started delegating those 9-arounds. We first started doing that when I first met Jonathan 5 or 6 years ago. We would have the flyers and the trucks, and the guys were supposed to actually go in and drop them on the houses around. Well, lo and behold, the municipality in the town we live in called me one day, and the sewers were back. And I was like, why is the town calling me? Lo and behold, I had several hundred of these 9-arounds stuffed in the sewer grate because the guys didn't want to put them out there. So the next step is I utilized Service Autopilot as a platform and used the lead screen. So you can actually go in on Maps Pro. It's basically a Google map, and you can drop pins all around the houses that you actually have and create a mailing list. Great. I mean, it worked great. We were closing sales. Our revenue and route density skyrocketed for doing that, but it was better than the manual task of dropping them in there. But the problem with that was it relied on my office staff or me in the off season to do that. We didn't have the time to do that every time a new client came in.
Right.
So just like some of the new integrations coming in Service Autopilot, they're cutting edge, they're breaking edge. So if you're a new member of Service Autopilot, a long-term member, or maybe you're looking at this as a person who may want to use Service Autopilot as a platform as the season's starting to slow down and maybe you're changing, SA is in basically created new integrations. So one of the big ones coming in is Martha Woodward's QDS software, Quality Driven, where it's just about to come out into beta, where you can send out quality surveys. Another one is, shameless plug for Josh, is Send Jim, and it's in beta right now. And that's something that we're using in my company in upstate New York. But now it's giving us the ability to, when someone signs up, we can drop a 9-around automatically, 1, 3, 5 different rounds, whatever we decide. So now it's set it and forget it, and it goes out. So if you're looking at Service Autopilot, they are constantly improving that cutting edge technology and bringing new integrations in, like Josh's platform or Martha's platform. Other things I've seen coming down the line I can't really talk about publicly on Facebook, but these are the things that, as a business owner myself, excite me. Being aligned with a company like Service Autopilot, because they're going out and getting like-minded individuals like Josh and Martha and some other people that are lining up to create a competitive advantage in your local market to build that route density and top of frame of mind in those communities. So kind of hit that 9-around scenario there. But one of the other big things that I really love that Jonathan teaches in the Elite Academy, the regular academy, as well as the regional events that him and I fly around the country and teach 4 or 5 times a year, is the ability to send hard copy mail. It's something that they've coined as a lead letter, Josh. And I don't know if you've ever heard of a lead letter. It's something you utilized in your business, but if you could speak to, I know definitely some of the times I've talked to you, the importance of different mediums of communication. So you may be text message, emails, postcards, or phone calls, or actually hard copy mail. No one's doing that anymore. So what are your thoughts about using different avenues of marketing to hit each different person at a different point in the channel they like to talk in?
Oh, it's awesome. You want to have multi-touch marketing, which is the biggest thing people miss, meaning they just don't get in front of people enough times. But in conjunction with that, you have multi-channel marketing. So Facebook's a channel, text messaging is a channel, email is a channel, flyers, yard signs, door hangers, community events, the business expos, whatever. All those things are channels or opportunities for you to get your message out to your community. And they're all great. They're valid, right? The hard part is figuring out just a simple method to get the highest result possible. Because honestly, even if you're watching this video right now, ideas are awesome. Like, I could do this and I could do that and I could do this magical thing and I could try this marketing thing and I could do, and that's all real. You can, but what's hard is people get overwhelmed. They don't take action because they don't know where to start. It's confusing and then they do nothing, right? So I'm a fan of picking something and going deep with it rather than going shallow with a whole bunch of things, right? Don't go wide, go deep. So I can speak to direct mail because that's my world, and I built my company to large heights primarily with direct mail, but it's not the only way. One of the reasons I like direct mail right now is because it's on the comeback. Direct mail, when email, like in the early 2000s, direct mail started to take a huge hit, right? Because of email and electronic mail, and people got Blackberries and they're like, oh my gosh. But things are shifting a little bit, especially with younger people, like millennials, people in I don't know the exact age range for millennials, but maybe like 20 years old to 35 years old. A lot of these people are homeowners now. They're getting good jobs. They're buying stuff. They grew up not getting mail. They didn't get a lot of mail, right? So when they get mail, it's effective. They like to touch it. It's like crazy. They grew up in digital world. They're getting mail. The other thing about direct mail is that the total volume of mail is way lower than it used to be, way lower, because a lot of the people that would spam and direct mail people is less. The other thing about direct mail that's cool with technology, for instance, with Send Jim, is you can send people postcards with a picture of their own house on the front of the postcard if you want to, or a picture of their street sign, like a huge picture on the postcard on it. You couldn't do that, 15, 20 years ago very easily. And now it's really easy. So because you can hyper target exact neighborhoods, you can personalize it with like a picture of the lake they live on, or even a picture of their exact house. That stuff is insane, right? So as they're throwing away their junk mail and they grab your card and they see a picture of their neighborhood entryway and it says, "Dear Lake Travis resident," they're reading that card for sure, right? And so it's not that hard to get them to read your message and make a decision, whereas it might have been harder in the past. So, but really what I just described can happen through any channel. You want to personalize it. You want to target the right people. Your message and your products and services are not for everybody. They're for a certain avatar. And don't be scared to speak to that exact person, whether it's a soccer mom or the 42-year-old attorney with the trophy wife and the 2 perfect kids. Whoever you're speaking to, speak to them, personalize it, and hit them multiple times in any of the channels. Hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely. You had to be a trophy wife. So speaking of those trophy wife neighborhoods, an interesting example outside of lawn care and service industry was, I believe it was a really high-end suburb in Toronto, in Canada. There was a Porsche dealership that actually did exactly what you're talking about. They drove into the neighborhood and they parked the Porsche in front of everybody's driveway. actually backed it in a little bit, took pictures of it, and included that picture of the Porsche in their driveway and did a direct mail campaign. Now with the technology you're talking about, that shifted. That was about 4 years ago. You can actually go into Google Maps with some of the technology and take that picture of that Lake Travis entrance to that home. But this Porsche dealership built their whole entire business on literally having a Porsche in the picture in their driveway. Now that's emotional connection, that's a change in status, and now they want that. So that is exactly what we're talking about. We're not necessarily pushing a Porsche in the front yard, but we are differentiating them. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, that you can do with your marketing is you're elevating their status. And that when that happens, there's that emotional connection.
Well, that's a whole rabbit trail, because every decision everybody makes is about status. It's about increasing or protecting yourself from decreasing your perceived status, right? When you hire a professional mowing company to mow your lawn, even if you're just a nice guy that you say you don't care what other people think, even if that really is you still do care that you just get to drink your coffee and they mow it and your neighbors see that they're mowing your lawn. It's a thing. It's real. And that that's really important to understand all that stuff. But really, if you want to get big, if you want your company to get really big, in a way, you need to think small. And what I mean is like simplify. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. If you can automatically target the neighbors of all your current customers and to keep dripping on them, really good stuff happens if you're consistent in the long run. Like, it's almost impossible for that to not work unless you're just a terrible company and you have a bad reputation. It's impossible. It's a common sense. The problem is that people don't do it consistently for a long period of time because they're doing it by hand. When you automate it through technology, it's the biggest no-brainer on the planet to do that, assuming you want to grow, because you will if you do that.
Yeah, and anybody watching it was at SA5. I had the pleasure of talking after Jonathan, in piggybacking off his dominate your market theory, and I actually showed people how to execute that in-service autopilot. But one of the things that came up was, long story short, is when I met Jonathan, we went to a roundtable, and it's exactly, he taught these things. And one of the things that he said was, once we get that client, a lot of times we just forget to follow up and make that lasting impression. So one of the things they teach in that roundtable, or now if you're looking at growing and scaling your business in this SA community, they've got Service Autopilot Academy and Academy Elite where they teach these things. So I'm not going to give away all their tricks, but one of the things that they always teach is that a welcome and wow sequence. So they actually physically send something out as a welcome package in the mail. And like we were talking about it before, a lot of times we don't have time to make that happen. Our office gets crazy. And one of the things we started utilizing with your platform, Josh, was the ability to send out these scrumptious brownies automatically with a little card. That was something we were missing because we didn't have the ability to make that lasting impression. And the Academy is really dialed in that process. But if you're looking for just a really easy automated step to get that first impression out the door, or maybe you don't want to make such a big financial investment up front of sending a gift, but maybe when they start referring people, we can send out a gift card or the brownies then. We want to reinforce and nurture that relationship. And I think that a lot of things that are coming and tying into Service Autopilot now are allowing the smaller business owner to do that and still be able to keep it within a financial threshold that's manageable, but it's allowing them to grow and scale their business significantly faster than their local competition.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. I probably made $1 million off of brownies in my business career, to be honest. We overcomplicate stuff. Look, your customers are humans. They're people. The website visitors you get on your website, they're not clicks. They're humans. They're people. They're just people. People like to get a gift. They like to get told thank you, right? And how many competitors are sending brownies to their clients? Zero. None of them are. None of them are thinking like this. They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about, I got to get $200 by Friday or my electric bill's shut off, right? Think long-term, think relationally with your clients, not transactionally, not a one-night stand. Think of a marriage with your clients. It's no big deal to send someone $10 brownies, 2 gourmet brownies. It's a silly thing. It's different. Not everybody even likes brownies. Doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. They're going to love that they get a box. They open the box. There's the fluffy stuff in the box. They move that. They get the brownies out. There's a greeting card from you saying, thank you so much for supporting our local family business. Me, my wife, and my 3 kids appreciate you. Boom, right? Simple, simple, simple. Love people. Think long-term. Look, I'm telling you, the biggest companies I know are really good at the fundamentals. They're good at, blocking and tackling, throwing and catching. They follow up with leads. They say thank you to their customers. They automatically remind their customers of additional services when it's time to do it. Very simple stuff, very simple stuff. And what's even more amazing about today is that you can automate all of this stuff. You can automate sending a voicemail to them in the future to say, hey, it's time for your fall cleanup. It's time for your pre-Thanksgiving house cleaning or whatever. You can automate brownies going out to new customers. You can automate all the neighbor marketing. You can automatically do all this stuff. It's crazy. And I mean, really, just in the last 3, 4, 5 years, could you do this stuff in a simple way? It's insane. It's like having a set of cheat codes for your business, in my opinion.
It is, and I think that's where the SA community is a little bit different. We're all here trying to help each other and learn from other people's wins and losses, and I think that's huge. And you mentioned on the voicemail, one of the cool technologies that now can integrate into Service Autopilot is a ringless voicemail bomb, and what that is basically it's not a robocall. If you have a cell phone on the file, so if you're using Service Autopilot, you're looking to use Service Autopilot. If by default, if you don't know if it's a cell phone or a home line, put it in the cell phone line, because we found when we're building out automations for ourselves and other people that if it's not a cell phone, it won't fire off. But by default, that's going to be the biggest return on your investment when you're setting Service Autopilot up as a platform. But basically what can happen here is the way we utilize this in our company with the most, basically with the least amount of effort, the biggest return on investment is at day 1 and day 3, after every estimate we drop off, if we don't have a yes or no answer, we actually send out in the high peaks this ringless voicemail bomb. And what it does is it hits the person's cell phones, look like they missed a call. They're kind of like, wait a minute, it didn't ring. They look at it and, hey, look, it's Mike. And it's like, hey, it's Mike from Callahan's Lawn Care. I'm so sorry I missed you. Wanted to leave you a voicemail. It's been 1 day since we dropped off your estimate. If you have any questions, give us a call at this number, or click the online estimate and hit accept, and we're happy to get you on the schedule. If it's a reoccurring customer, you can say, hey, as a benefit, as a reoccurring customer, we're starting to fill up our schedule right now, but we want to save you a spot on our schedule for the next day or two to reward you. So in that, we can create some scarcity, we can create some urgency and get them to drive back and make that calling decision. And I think that's really important as you're being consistent, even in your offline marketing, your text marketing, as far as print or emails. We want to build a little bit of that scarcity and urgency in. We want to get that CTA, that call to action, to get them to pick up the phone or return that email to close that sale. But there's so many amazing things in technology, Josh, that just got me jazzed that weren't available. It was you and I working out under the streetlights, doing flyers on doors. And, those $100 that drove me to that divorce from the high school sweetheart. Now, everything happens for a reason. I'm really happy where I'm at now. So I'm kind of glad it did happen in perspective. But, man, those 100 hours weeks probably would not have happened if I had the ability to use this. And I don't even want to say cutting edge technology, but in the service industry, this is cutting edge. No one else is doing it, and they don't understand the power of it. So whether you're building it yourself, you're looking to have somebody help you, the biggest advice I can make for you is going into 2019, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Josh, after I say this, is like Josh said, find 1 or 2 things, go extremely deep, commit to it, and execute it, and get some things up on the wall. My scrum board behind me here is falling apart, but put some public accountability to it. Things that you plan on doing, the things you're doing, the things are completed, and work that thing systematically in the next quarter. And I know Josh and I talked about it on his podcast, but the things that aren't measured don't get done. So we need to measure. I call them the big 3. So we create that BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal. We're going out 10 to 15 years. Whether you want to be a $15, $20 million company, whatever that is, back it into yearly goals, back it into your quarterly rocks, and then break it into weekly and then daily executables. In our team, we literally meet every Monday and have a quick huddle, whether it's online or in person, but we report out on what were the top 3 things I needed to do, and I get a numerical score. And we actually highlight it in red, green, and yellow like a stoplight. So it is a visual representation if we hit those goals or not. Because if we're not hitting those daily things that drive to the week, to the quarter, it's too late. We're just looking back and like, well, our goal was to throw an extra $300,000 on the sales line, but we didn't do the things that needed to make it happen. So, Josh, I love the fact that you're saying grab 1, 2, maybe 3 things at most and go deep and go into them. So I'd rather see you do 5 rounds of 10,000 direct mails or phone calls or whatever you're doing instead of one blast of 40,000. It's that repetition that Josh is talking about is going to drive that success.
That's right. And my heart mostly goes out for like the little guy, so if you're doing like less than $500,000, you have a special place in my heart because it was so painful for me when I had my company kind of in that cash flow purgatory. my buddy Mike Dalkey calls it. It's like, yeah, like it seems like when you first start a business, when you get to $100,000 of revenue, that's a major mental milestone when you're a brand new thing. It's this big, huge deal. Once you get there, 250 sounds like the next thing. Like, oh man, $250,000. Oh my God. When you get to 250, you realize you kind of have less money than you had when you're at 100, right? Because your team's built out, your expenses, your cost structure is different. Everything's weird. And like, you're like, this is weird. We made 25,000 this month, but I have no money. How's this happening? So you're like, I just got to get to $500,000. And then you get to $500,000 and you're like, are you freaking serious right now? Like, I still don't have money. So I guess my point is there's a lot of fear for the small business owner to invest in technology or like put in a little bit of work and like automate something that they could do on their own. What they're not understanding is that the way to get unstuck, the way to blast past $500,000 and get up to a 7-figure business where you can, and not that it's perfect when you're there, but you have a full team, you have a support team, leadership team, it's easier to run $1 million business than it is a $150,000 business, in my opinion, by a lot, because you have help. But anyway, okay, I'm getting in the weeds there. What they're not understanding is that when you spend a few dollars to automate a very important process and you just forget about it, and then you take the time that you saved by automating it and you go invest it in more sales and marketing or whatever, you actually have a net profit in that transaction, right? You're not spending money, okay? You're creating space for yourself. For example, one of the things I have people that I work with do is I have them list a list of every single thing they do in their business. They buy the toilet paper for the bathroom in the shop. They fill up the gas cans. They change their own brake pads. They do payroll. They do the CRM. They answer the phone. They do the estimates. They do sales. They do customer service. They do all the stuff they do. List out the things and then put the dollar per hour value next to the thing and then sort it from, the lowest value dollar per hour to the highest value dollar per hour. Okay. Very simple exercise. What you're going to find though, is that what you're going to find if your business is less than $500,000 is that you're spending a tremendous amount of time on administrative low level things. For example, if you're going to go pass out flyers, that's freaking awesome. Pass out flyers. But what if you could save, 16 hours a week, but it would cost you money to make that go away. So it still gets done because you use SendJim or use some automated system, but now you saved 16 hours. What you're not understanding is that your time is worth thousands of dollars per hour when you offload the low level tasks that you could pay someone else or pay a software to do for you. Hopefully, does that make any sense? Am I making sense?
Makes complete sense. And two things I want to hit on, because this is the two biggest things I see in the Facebook world or even in person with people. And I think there's a huge misconception of people want to be a solo entrepreneur. And I'm gonna preface this is there's nothing wrong with being a solo entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with being on the truck. Josh and I are not standing here sitting on a pedestal looking down or making judgments, because trust me, we've got our teeth. I've had that rusty pickup. And I actually enjoyed those times being on the truck for the first several years up through college and a little beyond. But it got to a point where, just like you said, there's those pain points of maybe $500,000 to 750. There's a little chunk before those gray areas, and you need to get past it because that's where businesses die. So I want to start. There's nothing wrong if that's your goal and you want to be a sole entrepreneur. That's great. But if you think that those headaches get worse as you get bigger, they do a little bit. But once you get to a scalable business, and Jonathan talks about this a lot as well, business actually gets easier. And you wouldn't think conceptually until you get out of those fires that it would. But the ability to go from that million and beyond mark, like Josh said, you've got that support team. So I want to just focus on that for a second, is if you're looking at this and saying, man, I don't want to have to babysit all these employees and I want to do these things, it gets easier. But if you can get your head down and get there quicker and automating it, like Josh said, no matter what platform you're using, it starts to buy that time back. And the phrase from Michael Gerber, working on it, not in it, it allows you to buy that time back to start working on it. So the investment in technology is a little bit upfront, but at the end game, there is a return on investment. So I think we want to use and leverage technologies no matter what it is. It may be GPS to monitor your fleet, but whatever's going to start buying back and create a systematic way where you can pull yourself out and start working on the systems to scale that business to a million and beyond, or wherever that is, to get that support team to get back that focus in work-life balance. But as you said, Josh, I mean, there's phases of that where that work-life balance, and you're going to have to get in there and grind it out. And my second company, Simple Growth, we're certified advisors with SA. We haven't broke that million mark yet in that company. And there's parts as we're scaling that I'm reliving those pains and realizing, and it's opening that wound a little bit. But now, at least when we've seen those roadblocks, I know where they're coming, and now we're blasting past them, and we're knowing where we need to make those decisions to add those technology pieces. So I'm glad you brought.
It's just hard, but because you've already done it, you can just do the hard thing because you have the certainty that you're on the right path. When you haven't done something before, it's terrifying. Most small businesses are stuck because of mental games, mindset, fear, all that stuff. We don't have to get into all that, but that's the bottom line, right? It's all a head game, right? The work is out there. The stuff's out there. You need to make the investment, build the team, be a dynamic leader, go crush it, go destroy the local competition. You should be a total nightmare to compete with, whoever's watching this. The bar is low. Your competitors, the bar is low. These guys are asleep at the wheel. You can destroy them. You just have to have, focused, imperfect action, a lot of intensity doing it. If I took Jonathan Potoshnik, plucked him up, and plopped him in your market, whoever's watching this, I just dropped him right in town, and I said, all right, he's your new competitor, right? Would he succeed? Would he build a beast of a business? What would happen to your company if I dropped him there? And the thing is he's not a magical unicorn. He's just a guy. But he's going to have hyper-focused, massive effort. He's going to put the systems, delegate, hire, train. He's going to do all the things that you always watch people on videos say to do, but you're not doing. He'll just do all those things and make $1 bajillion and take market share, and it'll just happen that way. It's because you take the massive action. It's crazy.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I really appreciate your time. And I guess as we wrap this up, I'm going to take a look here, see if there's any Q&A, if anybody has any questions while we're live. Want to say what's up to Brian, Michelle over at Pink Collars, Dustin Acton, definitely some long-time watchers of the SA Weekly Talk Show. Just one other quick thing, and I don't want to get all sentimental with this, but as we're finishing the season, I've been talking to a lot of companies over at Simple Growth as a certified advisor. A lot of these companies have had huge financial wins. Some of these companies have had huge financial disasters and all parts in between. This is one of the things that I find helpful about this community, whether it's on the Facebook group or the conferences or the regional events. We got another regional event coming up in San Diego, coming alongside Martha's Quality Driven Software. I think there's 6 or 7 seats left. But if you have the chance in the off-time season, if you can't do it during the season, I really recommend getting around like-minded individuals, whether in business, whether it's virtually or in person. But Josh, owning a business is a lonely place, because I know a lot of times you feel stuck on that island and you feel like you're the only one going through this pain. So this is why I really
especially around the holidays, because you get to hang out with all your non-entrepreneurial family and friends who really don't get it, or they're like, oh, you're still mowing lawns? Oh, that's cute. Yeah. How's that hobby going for you? They don't know that you make $50,000 a month, but I digress. Like, it's weird. You got your entrepreneur friends, which is all of us Facebook people probably. And then you got what my friend Stacy Martino calls the muggles, like the non-entrepreneurial people that don't understand why you wouldn't get a safe and secure job, which is an illusion to us because it's not real. Anyway, it is. It's lonely. It's hard. It's difficult. One of our family sayings is, it doesn't matter how hard it is. It only matters if it's worth it. I have T-shirts that say that my children wear. I have 5 kids, and I'm beating into their brain at a young age. I don't give a crap how hard something is. If it's worth it, you don't have to feel sorry for yourself anymore. If it's hard, you just do it. You just do it real quick. You just get it done. But for most of the small businesses I work with, they don't really truly know what they want in the first place. They don't really know what the destination is. They're not hyper-focused on like a desirable outcome. And it makes it really hard for them to stay motivated when it gets hard. So when it gets really hard, they pull back. And it gets really hard and they don't know what to do, and they pull back. But when you have laser vision on what your vision is for your family, for your finances, for you, like what the destination is, when you're focused on that, you just keep plowing through those things, and it changes everything.
Awesome, Josh. Well, we're wrapping up. I want to thank you for your time here. Just an absolute rock star in your own mind, and what you're doing here, your own right, not in your own mind, but I'm sure you're a rock star in your own mind as well. But the SendGym integration, still in beta at SA, but just it's helping a lot of businesses go out and crush the automation thing. And I really appreciate that, you bringing the technology and SA, working with you to get that integration. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Josh is doing some great things with that with us and helping us to go out and automate that business and concentrate more on working on it and in it. So Josh, anything else closing? If people haven't heard about it, you want to reach out to you, anything that you're doing, this is your time. Obviously, I know it's very valuable. So I want to give you at least time to let people know how they can reach out to you if they need have any questions about SendJim or anything else you're doing.
Sure. They can always just send me a private message on, a messenger on Facebook. That's the best bet since we're on Facebook right now. Or you can email me, josh@sendjim.com. If you have questions, if you're not sure if it's a good fit for you, we'll tell you if it's not. We'll be totally straight up. If you just want to call, you can go to sendjim.com and, get a demo and check it out, stuff like that. But we're here for you. And, we have a big heart for small business owners. We came from nothing, and maybe we'll go back to nothing. You never know what tomorrow holds. But while I can, we're going to, do our best to support and encourage and inspire small entrepreneurs like you guys. Love what you're doing as well, Mike. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, if you're watching here, we're going to be coming back live with the SA Weekly Talk Show. Josh, I'm going to try to keep you online and see if I can break out some checkers. Just feeling like I want to mix it up a little bit with the wall in the background there, buddy. But anyways, SA Weekly Talk Show coming back next week. We will talk to you. Mike Callahan, Josh Latimer, SA Weekly Talk Show. We'll see you next week.